themoneyman.com.
Welcome back to the Money Man Report. Half the show already in the can, loaded up on the truck, and headed to the vault. If you missed any of the show or any of it to come, head on over to the website, www.themoneyman.com, and you can click on that radio archive button, hear the whole show. I'm John Crocker, here with TV and Radio Money Man Dan Frischberg, also here, of course, with the beautiful Alicia. Dan, we have a special guest with us.
Yeah, I do, and a very interesting special guest. His name is Steve Rozenberg. But, you know, the other part of the American dream in a box, part of it is the fact that you can participate in Boeing or the trade desk or any of these things with a simple putting down a deposit. But also, you have the ability to be a real entrepreneur. You have the ability to create your own business. Half these people, half the world now, half the country thinks being a businessman, it makes you the enemy, right? I want to introduce you to a guy who took it upon himself to be an entrepreneur out of necessity because he understood the American dream. That's Steve Rozenberg. Good morning, Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hey, can you hear me?
I do, yes. Here you are.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, Steve, you started out as a international commercial airline pilot on United, right? And talk about what happened. How did you break through, and why?
Sure. So, I started off actually the original company was Continental Airlines, and that's all I ever wanted to do growing up was to be an airline pilot. Never wanted to do anything.
We're having trouble with the line, Steve. There's something wrong with.
Perfect now.
Let's see.
Perfect now.
Okay, try it again.
Is that any better?
Yes.
I don't know. Try it now. Steve, are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Let me fix this. Hold on, guys.
Okay.
Danny's fixing it.
Yeah, so anyway, well, Dan, there's a headline out right now, and they're talking about how the weekly crude oil inventories are up by like 7 million barrels.
Right.
And I'm looking over at what the price of a barrel of oil is costing, at the moment, and it's down. So again, here are millions of people out here chasing these headlines.
Yeah,
They see that.
John, 3 weeks ago, they were the same headline in reverse.
Oh,
about
I'm
the
with you.
Oil inventory being lower than they expected.
I'm with you. It's totally ridiculous. But guys like.
Okay, Steve is back on.
Okay, we got Steve back. Steve?
Yeah. Sorry about that, Dan.
Awesome.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so let's talk about how you were kind of forced into being an entrepreneur, but if you were somewhere else, you wouldn't have been able to do it. This is the American dream in a box.
Yeah, so being an airline pilot was a great job. Still is. I still am an airline pilot. I still fly for United Airlines. But 9/11 actually changed my trajectory. And the reason it changed my trajectory is the industry as we knew it basically either almost evaporated or it came very, very close to it. And what it did is it made me realize when I got my notice that I was being furloughed as an airline pilot because they didn't know what was going to happen, was that a safe, secure job was basically anything but safe and secure. And I realized that at any hiccup, I was going to be victim of what could happen to me, which was, the swipe of a pen, companies going into bankruptcy, aggregating contracts, all that kind of stuff, made me realize that I really had no control of my destiny. And if I wanted to control my finances, my destiny, my future, all of that, I needed to do something different. And so I realized that I didn't want to do this, but I was more or less forced to do it. I had to change some things.
But that didn't mean you had to stop being a pilot, though, right?
Correct. I love being a pilot. That's a love. I did it as a little kid, and I enjoy it. Never wanted to give it up. I still am an airline pilot, but I also realized that I cannot rely upon it to be my sole income if something should happen and a CEO runs the company wrong. They always say you're 2 CEOs away from bankruptcy. So, bankruptcy is scary because contracts and unions and a lot of bad things happen that I have no control over whatsoever. So I started getting into real estate. I started buying, wholesaling, flipping, all those terms that you hear about. I learned a lot of them. I made many, many mistakes. I got taken advantage of, but I kept pushing through to figure out solutions because I knew at some level, to me, owning real estate was a great 1-2 combination. I liked the ability of something going up over value, appreciation over time, depreciation, all the benefits of real estate. I just had to create the right formula. And so it was really, really hard because, I'm basically living two lives. I'm living the life as an entrepreneur, investor, getting my lessons licked in, and also being an airline pilot and supporting for my family. And
Steve, it's John Crocker. Real quick here. So you made an amazing jump here from being an airline pilot into then becoming an entrepreneur and doing all of the things that you did. That takes a certain extremely strong mindset. What was going through your head at the time, and how did you have the mental strength to then continue and move on and move forward in ways that you never thought you would have to before?
That's a good question. People do what they have to, not what they want to. And this is something that I had to do because I realized when your back is up against the wall and you're served a furlough notice saying that you are not going to have a job in 90 days, possibly, don't know. And luckily, I came 30 from the bottom of being furloughed. It's kind of like touching the hot stove.
But so, Steve, all the other airline pilots in the world who also had the same problem at that time after 9/11,
there were
become millionaire entrepreneurs.
A lot of those pilots decided that they were going to go to other countries, fly for low-cost carriers, and I thought, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna change because I'm still going to be a victim, and they could go out of business. So I decided that I needed to take action.
Steve, I'm sorry, we're going to have to go to a quick break here, but if you can stay with us, we'll get back to this conversation right on the other side of this break. More Money Man Report and continuing with Steve Rozenberg right after this.
880 The Biz, where money talks.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Stocks are slipping. Trade remains high on the agenda with investors looking for firm details about a possible deal between the U.S. and China. Carlos Ghosn has been freed after 108 days behind bars in Tokyo. The former Nissan chairman was released from jail after posting $8.9 million in bail. Ghosn was arrested in November over allegations of financial misconduct. He could still end up back in jail if prosecutors arrest him on new charges. Exxon raised its spending target to heights not seen since the oil market collapse began in 2014. Exxon plans to spend about $32 billion a year searching for oil, constructing natural gas plants, and expanding refineries. That's an increase of 24% from last year. Exxon also plans to raise as much as $15 billion through asset sales by the end of 2021. And beef hasn't been this expensive relative to pork since May 2017. America's voracious appetite for burgers and steak has helped widen the price spread. Courtney Donahoe, Bloomberg Radio.
This is Jerry Boyer of Town Hall Finance for townhall.com. Larry Kudlow is director of the National Economic Council, which makes him President Trump's chief economic advisor. But in his recent CPAC speech, Kudlow gave some advice directly to the American people. He asked us to put socialism on trial. What a great idea. C.S. Lewis wrote an essay called God in the Dock. The dock is the defendant's seat in British trials. His point was that modern man puts God on trial, whereas our forebears properly saw man as on trial. The people who put God on trial also tend to put freedom on trial. Conservatives have offered effective defenses of economic freedom. But Kudlow is right. It's time to put godless socialism in the dock, in the defendant's seat. I choose as witness number 1 and number 2, two forms of socialism, communism and fascism. What do you have to say for yourselves, socialists? We'll await your defense. I'm Jerry Boyer.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Share, like, comment, tweet. Are these foreign terms to your business? They may not be to your competition and the reason you're losing sales. We're Salem Surround. We take the mystery of digital marketing off your shoulders, letting you run your business while we deliver customers. We offer a free analysis of your digital marketing effectiveness and suggest methods that could dramatically increase your sales. Learn more by logging on to surroundmiami.com. Surroundmiami.com. Connecting you with new customers.
880 The Biz, where money talks. You're tuned in to the Money Man Report with your host, TV and radio money man, Dan Frischberg. For more information about everything we're talking about, go to themoneyman.com right now. That's themoneyman.com.
Welcome back to the Money Man Report. Here we are on the VIP line with Steve Rozenberg. Steve is not only an international commercial airline pilot, He's also a real estate investor, a CEO, and he speaks internationally. Steve, welcome back to the Money Man Report.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Steve, you say that in your bio here that your mission is to approach property management from the investor's standpoint. What does that mean to you?
Well, when I was owning my properties and trying to figure a way to wrangle these things in, you know, the American dream is a lot of people want to get on this whole Ferris wheel, and international as well. They want to own real estate, but they don't know how. And what I've learned is a lot of people, they look at the strategy of owning or flipping or buying and wholesaling, but they never actually attach it to an end goal. And I think it's a big disconnect that everybody sells the front end, but nobody actually shows you how to live with that property day after day, week after week, to get the actual return out of it. And the biggest challenge that I've seen, whether it's a whether it's a property management company or whether it's a investor that owns their own properties, is they don't have a business plan wrapped around owning that investment business. And they don't look at it as a business, and they don't look at it from a perspective of empathy. They look at it from a perspective of, I own a company, you should rent for me, and you should let me manage your property. And it's not a problem solution business. It's more, we have a solution. We don't care if your problem matches our solution. This is what we do. So I think there's a big disconnect in this industry, and myself from being an outsider looking in, when I was looking for a property management company, I couldn't find any that actually had my interest at heart. They all had the property management company's interest at heart, or the wholesaling, flipping, all those people had their interest at heart, but nobody was actually looking at me, the guy who owns the property day after day, week after week. And so,
can you give an example of that disconnect?
Sure. A lot of it. A lot of it was there was nickel and dime fees, right? So when you have a property management company, and I get there's, you've got to make a profit. I understand that. I don't have a problem with capitalism. What I have a problem with is people that are not honest with what they do, and they're telling investors to buy properties so that they can get more on their rent roll, not buy a property because this matches your goals. And what I've learned is no one ever asks the investor, and the reason I say that is no one ever asked me. No one ever said to me, hey, Steve, why are you buying these properties? Because I bought about 35 properties when I first started over the course of 2-3 years, me and my business partner, and they were bad properties for us. They didn't match our goals because no one ever asked me, what are your goals? Why are you buying these properties? Had someone asked me that, I probably would not have bought a bunch of low-income properties that would never go up in value.
How did they not match your goals? This is a really interesting thing that you bring up that's really good for the audience to hear, and because they're thinking exactly along the lines. Explain what was wrong with it. How did it not match your goal?
Well, number one, I never really had any goals, so that was the first thing. No one ever actually sat me down and said, Steve, why do you want to get into real estate? What is the reason for this? I was so focused on saying, hey, I see this property, a low income, high cash flow on paper property. I'm going to make X percent, 50% cash on cash return. The ROI is great. All these acronyms and numbers are great. But the reality was I didn't need the cash flow. I'm an airline pilot. I wanted appreciation over time in a passive property. The model for those properties does not match what my goal was. So if somebody would have said, hey, Steve, these properties are never going to go up in value and appreciation to what you're thinking, they want to rethink your strategy. And so that's what I mean by that. Everybody hangs their hat, the majority of people hang their hat on cash flow.
Wait. Whatever Danny did to make you sound good, he probably needs to do it again because you're cutting in and out. Are we working on that? Okay, keep going. Let's see if maybe it got better.
Sure. So what I've learned is that a lot of people, they focus and they hang their hat on cash flow because that's what everybody hears. But the reality is there's other things that come into play like appreciation, depreciation, equity capture, all those things. And the biggest challenge is there's nobody there helping the investor from an investor's perspective. And if somebody would have said to me, hey, Steve, don't buy 35 low-income properties, buy 10 properties that are going to go up in value based on your goal, being an airline pilot, not needing the cash flow, looking for something 20, 30 years down the road,
So
I would
quickly,
have had a much
before we
different
run out of
strategy.
time in this segment, what kind of property do you buy for appreciation? We only got 30 seconds, 20 seconds.
I think you could buy something, that's going in mid-town, mid-area, that's going up in value. They could even be negative geared, meaning they're negative cash flow, but the appreciation is outpacing the regular standard cookie-cutter house. So, it depends on the goal.
John?
More with Steve Rozenberg right after this. Don't touch the dial.
.880 The Biz, where money talks.
I'm John Crocker from the Money Man Report Radio. Growth in these markets have been anything but predictable for almost a year now, but I'm not putting my family's dreams of a more comfortable life on hold, and now you don't have to either. I found 2 high-paying dividend stocks that are putting S&P 500 returns to shame. While everybody else is pulling their hair out searching for ways to make a few bucks in this sideways market, a few smart investors have been pumping their wallets full of easy money by simply buying these 2 high-paying dividend stocks, and there's zero fancy trading required. Get my new report on 2 solid dividend-paying stocks putting S&P 500 returns to shame this week for free. That's right, I said free. No credit card, no baloney. Simply go to themoneyman.com and complete the short form at the top of the page right now. That's themoneyman.com. We have an opening for one accomplished chiropractor in the new and growing Weston chapter of the Primetime Business Network, the exclusive network for building your business through relationships. As the costs of conventional marketing soars, Primetime Business Network members are enjoying real camaraderie and successfully growing their businesses through the highly effective sharing of customers and referrals. You and your business are always featured because each chapter has only one member from each position. Get noticed and build satisfying, mutually beneficial relationships. Hone your communication skills and share your story with a growing group of top pros you can really respect. And each member in every chapter reports substantial growth because we show up to each meeting intent on growing our incomes by proudly referring our customers and contacts to each other. Apply now at www.themoneyman.com. Do it now because when the seat is gone, it's gone.
Hello, I'm attorney Kenny Lay of Florida's largest family law firm, Kenny Lay & Associates. We specialize in family law for men only. It's important for men facing a divorce to protect meaningful financial assets, especially with today's investment market in full focus. For questions concerning any aspect of family law, child custody, or for 15 tips preparing you in advance for divorce, visit our website at divorcemenonly.com. That's divorcemenonly.com. Kenny Lay & Associates, men only, family law only. Offices, Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach.
880 The Biz, where money talks. You're tuned in to the Money Man Report with your host, TV and radio money man, Dan Frischberg. For more information about everything we're talking about, go to themoneyman.com right now. That's themoneyman.com.
Welcome back to the Money Man Report. Here we are on the VIP line with Steve Rozenberg. Steve is not only a CEO, he's also a business strategist, an airline pilot, travels the world speaking. He also used to do, and maybe still do, Steve, I'm not totally sure, a radio show in Houston on a radio station that the beautiful Alicia actually founded.
Yeah, I was on that station for about 2 years. I now have 2 podcast shows that I just do digitally. 2 different topics of the podcast shows that I do that are real valuable for real estate investors and business owners in the real estate industry.
How would we listen to those shows?
The first one is called the Landlord Survival Show, and it's geared towards investors. That it's on iTunes, it's on Google Play, and it's geared towards investors. That really, it talks about the challenges we all come up against. So I have a lot of experts on the show, as well as a Facebook group called the Landlord Survival Group on Facebook, and it's really to talk about the people that are having challenges. When I look. A lot of these shows, everybody talks about the good things. Everybody polishes their resumes and they talk about how great they are. But nobody seems to talk about the challenges that the investor didn't get funding and he almost lost his deal. or the sleepless nights because the house he was flipping flooded and he doesn't know how to get the money.
Right,
and what did he do to overcome it?
Okay.
Better again.
Steve, there's an ebook that we would like to have our listening audience can get it.
You've got 7 of them, but one of them you're going to give away to our audience?
Correct. So I have written 7 ebooks. I have one that I would be more than happy to that I do sell, but I would be happy for the audience to get one free. It's called Tenants, Toilets, and Turmoil. And it's for people to understand that they are running a business. Yeah, and it's, when you're running a business, when you own property, and it's not a hobby, and it's something that needs policies, procedures, and structure, and you got to treat it like a business. And if you can't do that, then maybe real estate is not the right track for you, or you hire a professional company, you get a team, just like, buying stocks. You shouldn't, you get educated and you learn what you're doing. And I think there's a disconnect with a lot of people that they spend more time worrying about the interest rate or the insurance premium than they do worrying about how to get the revenue and the return year after year out of the investment asset. And I think it's a problem.
Interesting.
Steve, one of your topics that you talk about when you travel the world here is motivation. We don't have a ton of time left in the show, but can you shed some color on that, please?
Yeah, a lot of it is talking about my story and how I got through and how every day I'm out there grinding. I mean, I own a business, so I can't have somebody say you haven't done it, because not only do I own a business, I am still an employee of an airline. I fly internationally. I fly to Australia as an airline pilot, and I speak. I've got the radio show. So when someone tells me they can't do something, I kind of laugh it off, because you're choosing not to. So when I speak about motivation, I'm more speaking about what I do and how I do it. And it's just kind of my story. And I think it touches a lot of people, because the 9/11 story, everybody has a 9/11 story in their life of something getting ripped away from them or getting punched in the face without realizing it. And a lot of people either fold and crumble, or they, hit the wall and bounce back and come back swinging. And it's that decision you make every single day. As an example, I get up at 4 a.m. every day to go to the gym. People say, I could never do that. And I say, you choose not to do that. It's not that you can't. That's a decision you make at 4 a.m. when that alarm clock goes off. Do you get up, or do you give in and roll over? That's a decision. And every day you have a decision to make as to whether or not you're going to be better than the day before. And at the end of the day, I hate to say it, nobody really cares about other people's problems. Everybody has their own challenges in life. Everybody has their own issues. And my thing is you have to look out for yourself, and it's a matter of consistency. It's not one handshake. It's not one high five. It's what you do on a daily basis that makes your habits, your thoughts, your patterns, and makes your life.
Steve, this is great. I wish we had more time. How can people get in touch with you?
Sure. They can find me on Facebook at Steve Rozenberg. They can find my company on Facebook, Empire Industries LLC. Or they can email me, steve@empireindustriesllc.com. And like I said, I'd be happy to share the ebook and do everything I can to help investors at least look at real estate as an investment asset for themselves.
And if you want Steve's ebook, just fill out that short form right on the front of our website there. And in that comment section, just say, send me Steve's book. Steve Rozenberg, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dan Frischberg. Thank you to the beautiful Alicia. Thank you, Danny, on the boards. I'm John Crocker. More Money Man Report in 23 hours. See you tomorrow.